The day I met Ethan, my heart was flooded with emotions I had never experienced before. He appeared like a gentle breeze, sweeping away all my exhaustion and worries. His eyes shone with tenderness and sincerity, making me believe he was the man I could entrust my whole life to. We met at a friend's party. He came with a warm smile and gentle care that made me feel protected. He said, "You are someone special, and I want to spend my entire life with you." I believed him with all my heart. In less than a year, Ethan got down on one knee and proposed to me. I nodded without hesitation, overwhelmed with happiness. Everything seemed too perfect to be true. In the early days of our marriage, Ethan was the perfect husband. He cared for me in every detail, from the meals he prepared to every little gesture. He remembered my birthday and was always by my side when I was tired. He was gentle and tender, like the hero every girl dreams of. "I will always be by your side, no matter what happens," he whispered on cold winter nights. I trusted him completely, never doubting him even once. But then, signs of change began to appear. Small at first, then gradually, like cracks forming on what seemed to be a solid wall. He started coming home later, explaining it was because of work. At first I trusted him, understood, and sympathized. But his gaze grew distant, and the times his phone was turned off or hidden made me feel uneasy and suspicious. Once I asked him directly, "Are you hiding something from me?" He gave a forced smile and said, "No, I'm just busy with work." I wanted to believe him, but my heart remained uneasy. The fateful day came when I accidentally opened a folder on his computer. Messages between Ethan and a woman named Marina appeared, full of sweet words and secret plans to meet. Each line felt like a dagger to my heart. "I miss you so much. Let's meet tonight." I sat frozen, tears quietly streaming down my face. That was the moment everything fell apart. That night, I confronted Ethan. He knew I had discovered the truth. His face showed confusion and exhaustion. He cried, blaming loneliness and coldness in our marriage. I gave him a chance to make things right, but deep down, I knew things were no longer simple. From then on, Ethan played the remorseful husband, letting me check his phone and location. But I knew he was still secretly communicating with Marina, using cunning tactics and manipulating me to doubt myself. Marina was not just a lover but a haunting shadow, always present at work and in my life. I discovered a land sale contract, money transferred into Marina's account, forged documents, and Ethan's delays in sharing financial information. I decided to monitor him, gather evidence, and prepare for an unrelenting battle. This was not just about feelings anymore. It was a fight for my rights, dignity, and future. Once the truth was revealed, Ethan was no longer the man I once knew. He began showing another side, a carefully constructed, fake remorse. Instead of denying, he appeared regretful and took the blame in front of me. But I sensed that sincerity was just a performance. He let me check his phone and track his location whenever I wanted, seemingly to prove he had nothing to hide. Yet beneath that facade was a more cunning calculation than ever. I realized he was using transparency to manipulate me, making me feel safe while actually controlling and hiding many secrets. His private calls, deleted messages, and use of anonymous apps kept fueling my suspicions. One night, I accidentally overheard a phone call between him and Marina. Their voices whispered with cunning. "I have to keep up appearances with her. Don't let her find out the truth too soon. Otherwise, she'll do everything to keep the assets." I know. I'll play the remorseful husband so she lets her guard down. Everything is still in our hands. I sat there feeling utterly betrayed, yet clearer-headed than ever before. I was no longer the victim of lies. I was the one planning the battle. Ethan even knew how to make me doubt myself. "You make me feel lonely, like I'm living alone in this house," he said once. "Our love isn't what it used to be. You've changed." Those words made me feel guilty, wondering how I had failed in this marriage. But I also realized it was just his scheme to overpower and control me. I was no longer an innocent girl. I began fighting to reclaim the truth and my strength. Marina was not only a ghost in Ethan's heart, but also a haunting presence in my life. Friends at work revealed that she often showed up around my husband, prowling like a sly fox hunting prey. Once, I unexpectedly saw Marina standing in the office hallway, her cold eyes and sly smile seeming to challenge me. "Hello, I hear he talks about you a lot," she said with a pointed tone. I felt a chill run down my spine. Marina deliberately applied pressure, constantly calling and texting Ethan to quickly deal with me to seize the assets. Friends told me about times Ethan snapped at Marina due to immense pressure, but no one knew how he planned to escape the trap he had set. I began paying attention to contracts and documents Ethan carefully hid in his desk drawer. Among them were numerous land sale contracts, joint property transfer papers, and even forged documents bearing my signature without my knowledge. I photographed all those documents and asked a lawyer to analyze them. The results shocked me. Ethan and Marina were using financial fraud to steal our shared assets. Additionally, funds from our joint account were mysteriously withdrawn. Whenever I asked, Ethan said he was handling everything, but in reality, he deliberately avoided and concealed information. One night, our home security camera recorded Marina sneaking outside my door, her gaze full of challenge and malice. I realized I was surrounded by dangerous forces, not only emotional betrayal, but also dark schemes aiming to destroy my life. I started installing hidden cameras, tracking every move Ethan and Marina made, recording every detail to prepare for an unrelenting battle. The times I almost got caught, pretending to be normal, made my heart race, but I was no longer afraid. I knew that if I didn't dive into this battle, I would lose everything. Pressure from family and friends often left me discouraged. They told me to let it go, to trust Ethan again, but I knew this was no ordinary marital dispute. This was a life or death fight for my rights, dignity, and future. I spent many sleepless nights, my mind in turmoil and pain, yet I did not break. I was ready to stand up, refusing to let the traitors win. I once heard that a woman can become a haunting ghost in someone's life without ever appearing in person. But I never imagined it would be Marina, the woman who intruded into my life like a living ghost, always lurking, making my heart tighten every time I thought of her. Marina was not just Ethan's lover, but an accomplice in a cunning plan to steal the assets my husband and I had built with sweat and tears. She often appeared unexpectedly at Ethan's workplace, standing silently in the hallway with a cold smile and sharp eyes like a sly fox scrutinizing my every step. Once, when I visited Ethan's company, Marina greeted me with a challenging smile. "Hello, I hear he talks about you a lot." I looked at her, a shiver running down my spine. She seemed to send a message that she was unstoppable, a threat I could never ignore in my life. Such appearances didn't happen just once. Gradually, Marina became a haunting ghost in my life, like a nightmare I could never wake from. Alongside that, I knew Marina and Ethan often met in secret. Through secret surveillance, I discovered they chose hidden cafes and quiet street corners to meet. They exchanged thick stacks of documents, and from their eyes, I knew it wasn't a normal romance, but sinister schemes. I overheard their phone call. Marina whispered, "You have to keep up appearances with her. Don't let her suspect anything. or everything will collapse. Ethan replied coldly, I will play the remorseful husband to lower her guard. Everything is in our hands. I felt my heart being squeezed tight. A liar and an accomplice were plotting step by step to destroy me. I began focusing on the assets, the only thing that could save my life from complete ruin. Unusual land sale contracts and mysteriously transferred funds that Ethan couldn't reasonably explain. I found forged documents bearing my signature that I had no knowledge of. Every time I asked, he avoided the question or told me not to worry, that everything was being handled properly. But I knew it was a cunning lie to cover up fraudulent actions. Many nights I stayed awake, thinking about how to gather evidence and prepare for a battle I knew I couldn't avoid. I installed hidden cameras at home, secretly tracking every move Ethan and Marina made. One night, the camera recorded Marina standing outside my door, her gaze cold and challenging, as if sending a silent warning. Each passing day, I felt surrounded by betrayal and dark schemes. I was nearly exhausted, but I couldn't give up. Pressure from family and friends often left me confused and conflicted inside. They advised me to forgive and keep the family together. But I knew I was fighting for myself, for truth, and for the future. I still remember sleepless nights, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I had the strength to carry on. Then I promised myself, I will not fall. I will not let the liar and the betrayer win. I began making detailed plans, step by step gathering evidence and preparing to confront them. Every message, every call, every photo recorded became a weapon for me to fight with. I knew this battle was not just for me, but for justice, for women betrayed like me. That night, as the whole house was enveloped in the quiet darkness and flickering yellow light, I sat by the old wooden desk in my study, eyes fixed on each page and recording I had secretly gathered over time. Before me lay an irrefutable collection of evidence: land transfer contracts, forged documents bearing my signature, and message exchanges between Ethan and Marina filled with sinister plans. Each piece of this puzzle clearly revealed a total betrayal, not only emotional, but also a cunning scheme to seize my assets. A small hidden recording device placed in the living room played whispered words full of scheming that sent chills down my spine. Marina, her voice soft, quiet but full of pressure, instructed Ethan to keep me believing everything was fine, making sure I wouldn't discover anything. Ethan replied with a cold, sharp tone, saying he would play the remorseful husband, cover everything up to lower my guard, and keep everything under control. Hearing those words, I felt as if knives were stabbing deep into my heart, yet at the same time, I sensed a rising strength within me. The facade of Ethan and Marina was finally due to be pulled down. The next day, I brought all the evidence to meet with a lawyer. His eyes looked at me seriously. Then he said, "You are facing a very serious financial fraud case. If you don't act quickly, you could lose everything." Those words were like a cold shower poured straight into my heart, but they also became the motivation for me to be more determined than ever. I could not let that betrayer continue to brazenly take what belonged to me. I began planning for a confrontation that could change my entire life. I intended to hold a family meeting where everyone, from parents and siblings to close friends, would gather to hear me reveal the truth with undeniable evidence. This was not an ordinary marital argument, but a performance, a verdict for the liars and betrayers. I spent the entire day preparing each document, every recording, and every photo captured by hidden cameras. Each piece was arranged scientifically and logically to tell my story in the clearest sequence. Pressure from family and friends caused me to waver many times. Many advised me to let go, forgive, and preserve family happiness. But they did not know about the long, sleepless nights I spent in pain and torment, questioning whether I had the strength to overcome. At times I wanted to give up, to surrender to what was too much to bear. But truth, strength, and justice would not allow me to do so. I was fighting not only for myself, but also for the dignity of women and for betrayed values. During those sleepless nights, I stared at the ceiling, wondering if I could get through this darkness. But deep inside, I knew I was not allowed to fall. I had to stand up, no matter how thorny and dangerous the road ahead might be. Another warning sign that I cannot forget. The surveillance camera in my house recorded Marina standing at the door, her gaze cold and challenging, as if sending a message that she would never give up or leave my life. Her presence was like a silent warning, reminding me that this battle would be neither simple nor easy. But with all the evidence in hand, the help of my lawyer, and the resilience I had forged through difficult times, I was ready for the final battle. I was no longer the wife who was deceived, betrayed, and hurt. I had become a warrior armed with truth and unwavering determination. This battle was not just a fight between two people, but a fight to reclaim justice, dignity, and my future. I believed the day of judgment would come, and I would stand at the peak of victory while those who betrayed me faced the punishment of justice. That day finally arrived, the day I had no choice but to bring all the truth to light. I stood in the spacious living room of my home, looking around at relatives from both sides, close friends, and those who could not underestimate what was about to happen. The warm yellow light in the room could not dispel the heavy, suffocating atmosphere like never before. I felt my heart pounding in my chest, but deep inside, I was completely calm, because I knew I held the truth, undeniable evidence, and a strong inner strength to face those who had betrayed me. I know everyone is here for a reason, to understand exactly what is going on, I began, my voice ringing with determination. Today, I will hide nothing anymore. I turned on the projector, and the room suddenly fell silent as the recordings of conversations between Ethan and Marina played. Their voices were cold and scheming, making no one dare to breathe loudly. The whispers, "You have to keep up appearances with her, and everything is in our hands," stabbed like knives into every witness. Next, I displayed photos of forged contracts and property transfer papers with my fake signature, all vivid evidence of their lies, betrayal, and cruelty. Ethan suddenly stood up, pale-faced, forcing a smile, trying to rebut. "This is just fabrication. She's trying to destroy our family," he shouted angrily, but no one believed the words of a man who had betrayed. Marina quietly burst into tears, soft sobs echoing in the cold room, her eyes full of regret, but unable to hide the fear of the approaching day of judgment. The eyes in the room gradually shifted from shock to anger and disappointment, their gaze like silent accusations that could not be denied. An elderly aunt of mine spoke up, her voice stern and resolute. "Son, don't run from your responsibilities anymore. Stand up and face what you have caused. Don't let anyone be disappointed again." My close friend was equally harsh. "You are no longer the man we once knew. You have betrayed the love and trust of all of us." I looked straight into Ethan's eyes, a flood of long-suppressed emotions rising within me. My voice trembled but was full of determination. "You have not only betrayed me emotionally, but also lied to seize our shared assets. Do you think you can escape justice? All this evidence will be brought to light, and you will be held accountable." I raised each file, every page, making the room boil with tension as everyone seemed to feel my anger and pain. Ethan was stunned, bowed his head, his last words nothing but a disappointed silence. Marina sobbed quietly, her eyes full of fear, and I knew their world was collapsing right before them. Those who once loved and respected them gradually turned their backs, their gazes becoming cold, as if saying Ethan and Marina no longer had a place in their lives. After hours of suffocating tension, the meeting ended with the decision to bring the entire case to legal authorities. I regained control of the assets, feeling freedom and victory flood my soul. Standing among loved ones, I cried. Not from pain, but from a gentle happiness that I could finally live authentically. I didn't lose a husband. I removed a betrayer from my life. I learned a valuable lesson about trust, betrayal, and inner strength. And now, I'm ready to move forward on my own path, stronger and more confident than ever. After months of darkness, betrayal, and torment, by the lies of someone I once loved deeply, I was finally free. The truth was revealed like a storm that swept away all remnants of the past. I stood amid the ashes of a dead relationship, not as a fallen woman, but as a warrior returning from battle, stronger and more resilient. The first day I regained control of my assets, it felt like the whole world suddenly became clearer. I started with the smallest bricks, rebuilding my life from the shattered pieces once discarded. I opened a small shop where I could freely create, nurture passions, and dreams long buried. Every morning, looking at my face in the morning sunlight, I saw a woman no longer a victim of the past, but the master of her own future. I had overcome the darkness and found light within my own soul. Not every day did I forget the old wounds or the nights I silently cried thinking of Ethan and Marina. But I learned to let go, to love and cherish myself more than anyone else. Every wound, every pain became a lesson that helped me grow and become resilient. One day, I received a belated apology letter from Marina. In the letter, she admitted that Ethan had betrayed her just as he betrayed me. Reading that letter, I no longer felt anger or pain, but smiled gently. Strangely, amid that sorrow, I found peace and freedom within myself. I realized that I had not lost a husband. I had removed a betrayer from my life. This life was no longer about lies and pretense, but about truth, strength, and freedom, earned through resilience and unwavering determination. I spent time healing the wounds in my soul, and time with those who truly loved and valued me. I learned that strength is not only about defeating external enemies, but also conquering oneself, overcoming pain and doubt. The new life opened many opportunities and challenges, but I was ready to embrace them all with an open heart and optimistic spirit. I became a strong, independent, and confident woman, knowing what I wanted and how to achieve it. Looking back on this painful yet resilient journey, I want to say that every woman has the strength to rise after shocks and falls. No one has the right to take away your faith and hope except yourself. And I chose that path for myself, the path of freedom, truth, and love for myself. I am not just someone who was betrayed. I am someone who rose from the ashes, stronger and more radiant than ever. Life goes on, and I will live for myself, embracing all the best things I deserve.